Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to T-Ski Tutorials, and this is FPS 1.26. In today's episode, we're going to get into basic animations, and we're going to create a reloading animation for the gun. We're also going to add in a reloading sound. So with the reloading animation and the reloading sound, it's going to look like the gun is reloading when really it's not doing anything. So later on, this is going to be a baseline or a starting point foundation that later on we can add code to actually make the gun physically reload and have bullets in the clip and have ammo on the side, and when you reload it takes the ammo on the side, puts it in the clip. And so basically right now we're just working on the aesthetics of that. Alright, let's jump right into the code because there's really not a whole lot that we have to go over. So we're going to be putting all of our code inside of the gun script underneath the big if statement, if being held. So the first variable we're going to be using is reloading, and this is going to be a boolean, which is going to be either true or false. And I forgot to write boolean. Actually, I can't remember if it's capital or lowercase, but either way we'll find out later. So this is going to be a boolean that's going to keep track of whether or not we are reloading. So when we press the R key, we're going to do three things. We're going to set reloading to true, and then we're going to start the reloading animation, and we're going to play the reloading sound. And then once the reloading animation has been complete, we're going to set reloading to false. Now, it seems a little bit redundant right now to actually create a reloading variable, but we need this for a couple of reasons. And right now with all this script, the only reason why we need the reloading true and false variable right now is that we need to know whether or not we are already reloading. Otherwise, we can keep on hitting the R key and hearing the reloading animation over and over again when we really want this sound to just play through all the way and not be able to play again until we actually reload again. Another reason why we're going to be using a reloading true and false variable is because of this if statement right here. Inside of this if statement, we're going to eventually put some code in this area that is going to be handling our ammo and our ammo count. And we don't want this to happen every single frame because we are going to be testing whether or not the reloading animation is playing. And if every frame we test whether or not the reloading animation is being played, and if it's not, then we're going to add ammo into the clip of our gun, when we don't want that to happen frame after frame. We only want it to happen once. So that way we can check whether or not if we are in the middle of reloading and if the animation just ended, then we can put ammo in our gun and set reloading to false, so that by the time we shoot a few bullets and we want to reload again, we are able to do that. Okay, so the next variable we're going to be making is just simply reload animation. So the way we're actually going to do this is we're going to create a game object that we're going to set as a child of the gun, and then we're going to take all the game objects that were originally children of the gun object and put it inside, or set them as a child of this new game object. That way we can put the animation right on top of that, and then the animation won't affect the transform and the position and the rotation of the actual gun. So the script that makes the gun move back and forth and up and down and all the other smooth movements of the gun will still be there, and we're just going to layer an animation on top of that. So the way this is going to work in the inspector is that we are going to simply drag and drop this game object on top of reload animation. And because we have it of type animation, Unity is automatically going to detect the animation that is attached as a component to this new game object rather than the game object itself. Okay, so the next variable we're going to do something very similar to reload animation, and this is just going to be reload sound. So reload sound is going to remember an audio source, and once again we are going to attach this audio source to one of the parts of our gun, whether that's a moving part or a stationary part, but we want to take advantage of Unity's 3D sound system. So that means if we animate the gun to move around, say it goes from left to right, we want to be able to hear the difference in one ear to the other to give us the most realistic sound depending on how the gun is moving. So we need the sound attached to a very specific place in the gun object. So we are going to simply drag and drop the game object that we want to attach the sound to on top of this variable reload sound. And because we have it of type audio source, instead of remembering the game object, Unity is going to remember the audio source that is attached to that game object. Alright, let's take a look at this first if statement. So first of all this code right here is inside of the if statement if being held. So remember, if being held, the gun is being held, it's moving, it's able to aim, it's able to shoot, it's able to do all its functionality, and it's not laying on the ground. We're actually holding it. So if being held is true, we are going to put in these two if statements and the lines of code inside of them. And this commented line right here, it just represents all of the script that we already had inside of the if statement if being held. So the first if statement inside of here, we have if input.getButtonDown, reload, and reloading is false. So we're going to do input.getButtonDown, reload. So we're going to create a new key inside of the input editor, and we're going to call it reload, and I am personally going to assign this to R. And then we have simply if reloading is false. So if we are not already reloading, we're going to allow this reload animation sequence to happen. So if we press the R key and we're not already reloading, we're going to run these three lines of code. Alright, so the first line of code we have reloading equals true. So basically we're just setting this boolean to true so that Unity can remember, or our script itself can remember, whether or not we are currently reloading. So we're going to be using this variable in many different places, like inside of the shooting function. We're going to say if reloading is false, then we're going to allow the player to shoot, because we don't want the player to shoot bullets while they're reloading. Also, we're going to be putting this inside of the function of whether or not it is okay to pick up another gun, because we don't want to pick up another gun while we're reloading. We want to wait until the reload has finished, and then we can switch guns. Next, we are going to do reload animation dot play. So remember the variable right here, reload animation, is going to directly remember the animation component that is attached to the game object that is a child of the gun. And we're simply going to do the function play, and right here I have inside of parentheses reload. Now we don't actually particularly need this. In fact, we could write it just like this with nothing inside of those parentheses, but I wanted to specify that we want it to be the reload animation in case later on we want to add more animations like melee attacks or something like that. So we're just specifying the exact animation that we want it to play, because we can attach more than one animation to a game object. Next, we're going to do reload sound dot play. So this is simply just going to play the sound that is attached to the game object that we specified inside of the variable reload sound, and we're just going to use the function play. Alright, now let's take a look at our next if statement here. We have if reloading is true, so that happens after this whole if statement. So if we press the R key, we start the animation, we set the variable reloading to true, and we play the sound. We're going to have if reloading, so if reloading is true, and if reload animation dot is playing reload is false. So is playing, and notice is capitalized, and that is because this is actually a function. So there is another version where I can simply just write lowercase I is playing, and this is going to give us back a true or false variable about whether or not the reload animation is playing. But if we have more than one animation going at the same time, we might want to specify what that animation will be. So I'm going to set it to specify that the reload animation is playing, or more specifically, this function is going to give us back a true or false variable of whether or not it is playing. And because of this exclamation mark, if it is false, then we can run the next line of code, which is simply set reloading to false, and just reset the whole system so that we can reload again later when we want to. Alright, so that's pretty much all the code that we need to get this reloading animation and sound started. So I'm going to actually show you the basic animation system inside of Unity and introduce you guys to that today. So the only thing left is that we actually need a reloading gun sound. Alright, that should work. I'll edit it in GarageBand and make it sound a little bit more metallic-y because this is just a plastic little airsoft gun, but hey, it should work. So I'm going to cut the green screen and go into Unity and show you how to do that inside of Unity. Alright, here we are inside of Unity, and the first thing I want to do is I'm going to select the gun that is being held right now, or the default gun that's set to start with me when I start the game. And I'm just going to edit it a little bit so that it works better for animations. So let's see, I want to duplicate this, and I'm going to bring it down a little, and I'm also going to scale it in a little and maybe scale it out a little, and then let's see, I want, see if I can select it, this part here, and I'm going to rename this slider, or to keep things simple I'm going to gun part slider. Alright, and I want, oops, this one, and this one to be a child of that. And yes, I know I'm breaking the prefab. I'll reset it in a minute. Alright, so now this moves back and forth. So that should look pretty cool in the animation. And now let's actually make the handle look a little bit more like a handle. Let's make it a little skinnier. Probably lean it forward a little. Bring it back a bit, down a bit, and then I'm going to duplicate that one more time. I'm going to call this mag, and I'm going to scale it in, then I'm going to make it taller, and that should be a pretty good magazine. Or at least it'll do for now for these purposes. So now let me go back to my pistol. I'm going to unselect being held, then I'm going to click apply, and then I'm going to select being held one more time, because if I didn't unselect being held, all the other pistols would have been set to being held, and then we would be holding, what, 4 pistols at the same time, and we don't want that. And actually there's one other thing that I need to do, so I'm going to go to game object, create empty, and I'm going to call this gun animation object, and I'm going to set that as a child to the pistol, and I'm going to set the position to 0 and the rotation to 0, and the scale I can go ahead and leave at 1, and I'm going to select everything in here, and I'm going to just set it as a child, and once again I'm breaking the prefab. So now, and let me uncheck being held and apply and recheck being held, and it looks like our gun should be working. Let me test it out. It looks like it still works just the same way it was before. So that is our first step. Now we have all of our pistols set up in this hierarchy, and they're ready for some animation. So now let's see, what should I do? We should actually create the animation. So let's actually go here, select gun animation, and then I'm going to go up to window, animation, and it's going to create animation in a new window, but I'm going to drag and drop it right here so that I can see it inside of here. And under gun object or gun animation object, I'm going to click here and select create new clip and add components, and I'm going to call this pistol reload. Yeah, pistol reload. I'll rename it, and we don't want it to play automatically, and we want this to be set to always animate, and we can set this to any size that we want. So let's say we wanted 10 different animations. Like, let's say this was a character. We could have idle, walking, running, jumping, and so on and so forth. But for this case, so far all we have is pistol reload, so we're going to set that size list to 1. And up here where it says animation, this is the default animation. So if you don't specify which animation to play, it's going to play this particular animation. So now that we have this animation all selected over here, I'm going to click this record button, and as you can see, this red line turns on, these turn red, and this is selected. And so the first thing I need to do is create a keyframe. So the way a keyframe works is if I click it right now, nothing's going to happen because I have nothing selected over here. So I want to select all the different parts that I actually want to remember a keyframe for the animation. So I can select, say, all of these, since I know that I'm not going to scale the object, but I might as well just select transform just to keep it simple. And I know I want to animate the gun sliders transform, and I also want to animate the gun mag transform. So all three of these I need to create a keyframe in the beginning, so I want to make sure I have all of these different parts selected. Otherwise, we're just going to be changing the positioning of all the different parts of the gun, just changing the position of them and not the keyframe position of them. So make sure you have all those selected and go ahead and click keyframe. And now we're going to drag this over to how long we want the animation to be. And I'm going to go by how long my gun sound is, which is 2 seconds. So I'm going to set it to 2 seconds inside of here, and I'm going to create another keyframe. So now if we play our animation, nothing happens. It's just a plain old nothing's really happening animation. So now comes the part where basically we just move this slider back and forth and move some stuff around and actually animate it. So where should we begin? I'm trying to visualize the animation movement. So I think the first thing we're going to do with the gun is, well, first of all, I want to set this to center. And we're going to want to move it over, and we're going to want to rotate it. And as you can see down here, the curves are being updated automatically as I'm doing this. So let's take a look at what it looks like so far. Very, very simple. And let's add some more to that. So we brought our gun over. Now we want to drop the old magazine and put a new magazine in. But really it's going to be the same magazine. It's just going to look like it's a different magazine. So I'm thinking about here or so. I'm going to select gun part mag, and I'm going to slide it out. And let's see what that looks like so far. Alright. So we bring the gun over, and we slide it out. Actually, you know what? I want to redo that, so I'm going to press Control Z, until, how far can I go back? There we go. Did I get it? No, I didn't. It's still working. Okay, well, we'll just work with this then. Alright. So, what did I affect? I affected the Y position of the gun mag. Oh wait, that's Y rotation, Y position. Okay. So I think around here, I'm going to simply want to just put it right back up to where it was. I'm just going to guess about there, and let's see what that looks like. And we don't want it going up like that. So I'm going to select these two keyframes, right click on them, and I'm going to select flat, and let's see, there we go. That's starting to look better. And then around here, we want it to go back into the gun. So we took out the old mag, put the new mag in. And now let's go back and select our gun animation. So let's, alright, it's a little screwy. I'm not a very great animator. I'm definitely more of a programmer, so this isn't going to be the most beautiful animation here. And around here, I want the gun to rotate. And move forward a bit. And then, alright. And I'm going to select the gun slider. I'm going to add a keyframe to that. And then right here, I'm going to have the slider, whoops, make sure you select the slider over here. I'm going to have that slide back. And I'm going to select this, set it to flat. Alright, so it slides back and forward again. So let's try to find our keyframes that are giving us this weird motion. Alright, right around here, this part here, we'll just move that down. Okay, that's just the magazine. And that's kind of looking like a reload. So let's play it and see what that looks like. And of course we can adjust it and tweak it and get it exactly where we want it to be. But I'd say that's the half decent starting point as to what an animation should look like. So we have the animation all set up. Awesome, now let's actually create the code. Oh wait, no, we need to import the sound effect, and it's on the desktop. What did I call it? There it goes. Alright, and here's our sound. And I'm going to attach the sound to the gun slider, because I think that's where the majority of the sound is going to be at. So, and uncheck play on awake, and that should be pretty good for now. So let's go into our gun script, and first of all, let's make our variables. So, first one is reloading, and this is a boolean, and we want to, by default, make it false. And now we need reload and animation, and we're going to make this of type animation, and audio source. Alright, now let's go back into Unity and let's set those up. So the reload animation, we can just drag and drop the gun animation object because that has the animation attached to it. And as you can see in parentheses here it says animation because it wants you to know, even though when you select it, it highlights this, it's remembering the animation attached to it and not the game object itself. And we're going to do the same thing with the slider, and it's remembering the audio source that is attached to the slider, which is right here. One more thing we need to do is we need to set up the reload button. So we're going to just increase this by 1. So and that's going to copy the use key. So we're going to take the use key, we're going to rename that to reload, and we're going to set the button to R. Alright, I think we should be pretty much set inside of Unity itself. So now let's go and edit inside of the script. So now we have if being held. So let's first do if, first of all, if reloading is false, and input dot get button down, oops, capital reload, and first thing we need to do is set reloading to true, and then we're going to do reload animation dot play, and gotta remember what I called it. I think it was pistol reload, but now that I think about it, we are going to have to make a variable in here. Like let's say we're using the rifle with the same script, so I'm going to simply do var reload animation string, and I'm going to copy this and put it inside there, and now that should be our string. So now let me go inside here, and where is it? I have an error. What is wrong? Okay. Oh, I need a parenthesis right there. Always got to count your parentheses. Now those errors should go away. Thank you. And the string, I'm going to set this to, what did I call it? It should be somewhere over here. Pistol reload, all one word. Alright, now back to the script, and now we need to play the sound. So reload sound dot play, and I think that's everything we need inside of that if statement. So now let's do if reloading and reload animation dot is playing, reload animation string, oops, and we want that to be if it is false, so if it's not playing anymore, and we're going to set, whoops, reloading to false. And eventually inside of this if statement we're going to add some more code to handle the ammunition and reloading. But let's go into Unity and see how this looks. Alright, well first of all the gun is kind of sideways right now. But that looks pretty good. So I can just do this as many times as I want right now and it doesn't actually affect anything. It just looks like it's reloading. And that's not nearly the best reloading animation ever. But let me fix the fact that it starts off sideways. And let's just go here and do 0, 0, 0 for all of those. And let's put the magazine back in its place. And now, whoops. Alright, now the gun's looking pretty good. And reload. And it looks pretty good. Alright. So, hopefully that all worked out for you guys. I know animations can be pretty tricky. I'm still fairly new to them. I'm definitely not an animation artist by any means. Oh, one thing I forgot. One last time, uncheck being held, click apply, recheck being held, and now all of our pistols should have a reloading animation set to them. Oops, that is a rifle. There's a pistol. And it reloads just fine. Now we're gonna get an error if we try to reload with a rifle right now because we don't have any animation set to the rifle. So yeah, you kind of get a weird error. It doesn't know what to do, so it just stops moving. So I'm going to pick up the pistol, and so now it's working again. So yeah, this has really just been a crash course over animations and how to use them and audio sources and all that. And so hopefully now you guys have a gun that looks like it's reloading, and later on we're going to add the code to actually make it reload and actually handle different amounts of ammunition. So yeah, until that episode, I'll see you guys later. Keep making games.